This
Word
conference will
puzzle
now be recorded.
is just a word puzzle where you have to find the name of the Bollywood actors and actresses. Of course, the people who are attending the quiz will have an early arrival benefit because we'll share the quiz with you 5 minutes or 10 minutes before we share it on the Telegram group. So all the best for that. And today we have, I really don't need to introduce because I think by now you all know him very well, Anand Soni with us. Anand Soni, as he rightly calls himself, is the headhunter. Should I be, or maybe talent acquisition head, and is also certified by University of London, Colorado, and National Research University. So we are indeed very happy and delighted to have you here, Anand. The entire 1 hour session is going to be on certain important, indispensable corporate skills which you need to survive in the corporate market. So over to you, Anand.
Thank you, Meenakshi, for the overwhelming introduction as always. Well, indeed, communication skills, and as the title suggests, the very basic of it. So it's a very generic word, and we have been listening to this word ever since the inception of our academics, as well as our professional lives. But then there are a few aspects of it that we need to totally understand before making attempts to dig deeper. Now, what exactly do we understand by the word communication? It's like, two people or maybe many people interacting with each other or one another. But what's really important is the tools that we have for these interactions to happen. Now, the tools are entirely dependent on the kinds of communication that individuals have within themselves. Four aspects of communication, the way it is listening, speaking, reading, and writing. That's the four methods following which we can communicate with other individuals. The order stays like this. It is always listening first, then followed by speaking, then reading, and then writing. So it's not on the basis of the priority that this order has been decided. It's on the basis of the amount of communication that happens using the following mentioned. So the very beginning of any communication happens only when we start to listen to what is being said. And that is the subjective description of the topic on which the discussion happens, which is again followed by speaking, and then reading, and then followed by writing. One of the most common myths and misconceptions that we have encountered over the period of time is that people always prioritize speaking over listening. We have this preconceived notion that if we are able to speak in a specific language fluently, or if we have mastery over the subject of knowledge and we know how to exactly put forward the ideas so that the other person can totally easily understand us, then we might be a good communicator. But in reality, the world of literature says that if you're able to listen to the ideas that are being presented, then certainly that's the first and the most important aspect of communication that happens. Then we certainly, speaking as such is really very important. There are so many aspects and so many parameters and verticals that we can work, towards mastering this entire art. One may consider important aspects as fluency. That's one of the most important aspects of it. Lexical resources. In general terms, we understand this by the word vocabulary, the sort of word bank that we have in our minds, and the ability to put them grammatically accurately, which is the third most important aspect of speaking skills. So grammatical accuracy is something which cannot be undermined. It's one of the most important and one of the trickiest part of the speaking skills, particularly in the language English. Now, once we're done with the grammar, certainly pronunciation is really important. There are many words which we find quite difficult in pronunciation, but that's one of the crucial elements that we need to, or we should rather be making attempts to ameliorate or improve or enhance over the period of time. That's one aspect of it. But these are the major aspects of it. There are several minor aspects of speaking skills as well. For example, we have tone of speech, we have voice and accent, we have voice modulation, for example. We have rate of speech, which is a very crucial element. And there are so many aspects in which the entire speaking skills can be assessed. So when we talk about speaking skills, it's not only about the fluency or the grammatical accuracy that we are referring to. We are referring to all these minor and major skills that comprise us together to become the overall essential elements of the skill, which is speaking in particular. Well, listening, it is always about listening, not about hearing. That's one line summary of it. We need to listen to what is being said. We need to totally understand the meaning of it. Only then we'll be in a better state to answer or rather present our ideas so that the other person can present his or her views. The idea here is to make the conversation really interactive. I mean, if we are not out there to provide any speech or monologue, or we are not storytelling, for example, then certainly the communication in these cases would be bilateral. If you are orating, if you are giving a speech, if you are telling a story, if you are narrating an anecdote, for example, if you are reading somebody's creed, then certainly it's a unilateral communication where you need to work more efficiently on the speaking skills. But if you are communicating and the overall procedure of communicating happens, then certainly listening is the most important aspect of it. Followed by speaking, we have reading. Reading is again very crucial, very important aspect of it. These days, I'm not sure if many are habituated, but in our generation, it was quite important to read as much books as we could. Uh, there are several minor and major skills in reading as well. I'll just refer two of them. One is scanning and one is skimming. Well, skimming is, as the word suggests, you skim through what is written really quickly just to get the idea of what is being written. For example, I present to you a short story and you get around 5 to 10 minutes. And the task for you is to narrate what is there in the story, the crux of it, the genre of it, the category of it. So what you'll do is that you'll go through whatever is scribbled as quickly as you can, and once done, you'll let me know that so this was a horror story, this was a science fiction, and these were the leading characters. That is how the story advanced, and this was the conclusion of it. Now, certainly in a duration of less than a few minutes, you cannot read the entire story in detail. You must have skimmed it. That's the idea of skimming. And scanning is like looking forward to a particular or a few particulars, informations that are present in anything that is written. Well, I'm sure we must have had these comprehension exercises. We certainly do have one in our company these days. For example, there's this story where the character at the age of 76, he becomes a writer. Now, the challenge for you is to figure out the age. Now, what you're doing is that in the entire story, you're looking for that one specific information, which is the age of the author when he turns out to become the writer. That's the technique for scanning. But then reading also depends on the kinds of the instruments that you have, or the kinds of document that you are going through. Reading an email is extremely different from reading a story. Reading a story is very different from reading an autobiography. And that also depends on the kinds of books and the scribbled narrations that we're going through. For example, if you're reading a horror novel, or if you are reading a motivational quote, the way in which we read, mentally there's a lot of difference. We may not realize that, but it certainly does have a really impactful impression on us. And then writing. Yes, writing is very important in terms of academic life. I'm sure we all must be writing your examinations, and it is also really important in professional lives. Once you're selected, the first thing that you need to do is you need to write your email, right? Before you're selected, you need to write your CV. So that is one skill that is inescapable. You cannot really dodge any of these four. What's more important is, like in today's session, I thought that it's important for us to address a few of the crucials, especially from the professional's perspective, that how exactly these communications should happen. Time and again, we have always been focusing on the hard skills, which is the knowledge and the subjects that we have, which results in so many phenomenal ways that we end up mastering the very concepts on the basis of which we develop and shape our careers. But it's really important for us to present these ideas as well. I mean, we have all the knowledge, which means we have everything that is required to be delivered. Now we really need to work on the channel using which these deliveries should be made. So from professionals' perspective, in our organization or many organizations, all the professionals must have experienced this. And for all of you who are very soon going out to be professionals in your lives and career, it's really important for you as well to understand that how exactly communication does happen when you are in the field of corporate. So from the professional's perspective, I'm trying to highlight 7, 8 essential points that are really important, and these will certainly help you. Well, you may have encountered these, but the ideal description is what I'm trying to give to you, so that the discretion stays in your table and you are well aware of how you can amend those techniques to ensure that the delivery happens at its best. The first and the foremost important aspect, according to me, is emotional intelligence. With each point, I'll try and give you an example so that you can relate to it. Emotional intelligence is extremely important when you're communicating, especially in your professional lives, because if you are driven by the emotional situations that you are into, then certainly the impact on the other individual will not be, amiable. So what am I saying? What do I mean by saying that? For example, you're working in a franchise and you feel that you deserve a hike or the revising of your salary should happen. Now, there are many ways, you have been controlling your emotions for so long and you think that, okay, now is the right time. They'll do it by themselves. I need to go and talk to them. I should go and talk to them in this way. I will go straight away and speak to the HR. I'll go directly and speak to my team leader. And all these emotional turbulences have been happening inside your head and mind. And then one fine day, you simply could not resist. You went out there and you spoke everything that you had, and emotions were overflowing in everything that you said. Now, I'm not saying that the point was incorrect. Neither am I saying that your concern was something that was undeserved. Neither am I saying that the hike should not be given. The point is that how exactly are you willing to let the other person know about it? That's the challenge for you. That is exactly one thing that we need to really, really, really work on. The idea here is to stay emotionally balanced, not driven by circumstances happening around us. When I say emotional challenges, it does not really mean about your professional life, personal life only. It is a combination of both of it. You're having a bad day at the home, you go out there, you try and stay a bit quiet in your office, but certainly you do not let your emotions run you. You manage your emotions. That's the power of your life, not your life. That's one of the most important management lessons that are being taught to the MBA graduates and postgraduates as well. So emotional intelligence is one thing. You need to be really intelligent in terms of your emotions, in terms of managing your emotions, in terms of taking charge of the emotions that you're having at the moment, and then figuring out the best ways to communicate with your superiors, your deputies, your associates, your managers, your HR, I'm looking for that example. So that's one thing that is extremely important, emotional intelligence. The other point is cohesion and clarity. Cohesion is like logical. How much logic do you have in the argument that you are presenting? All these aspects that I'm highlighting, by the way, they are all extremely important from the corporate or professional perspective. So being cohesive, being logical is really important, and the clarity you have is something which is a part and parcel of it. So I deserve a hike in my salary. I've been working with this organization for over 6 months. I have learned a lot. I have completed my probation period really well. My performance was overwhelming. Well, my project manager said this. Now I need to speak to my recruitment head, and I want to apprise him about my expectations in terms of monetary gains. So what I'll do in this case is that I'll go, I'll prepare a set of reasons why I deserve this hike in terms of salary or designation for that matter. And I'll be extremely clear when it comes to the communication part. I will not leave the communication very hazy and then vague and unclear. So what I'll do is that I'll present my points really clearly to the person concerned. And then I would highlight the point that these are my expectations now, especially after I have proven my skills and my worth to the organization through my hard work, through my perseverance, patience, and performance. So it's triple P. So once you are clear in terms of communication, and once you are cohesive, the communication will happen naturally. You don't really need to put in a lot of effort in terms of the language that you're using, that will come to you naturally once you're clear. That will come to you naturally once you have logically empowered to present the ideas. So yes, of course, it does require a lot of homework on your end, because speech, as I said, or communication that happens with your heads, in this case, your recruitment head, for 5 or 10 minutes, there is a very good chance that you need to work for a few days, or for a few hours at least, in order to make sure that the communication is really cohesive as well as clear. That's the second aspect of it. Well, the third aspect, according to me, another really important point is friendliness. So, when I say friendliness, I do not really mean that the conversation happens in a very casual approach. It's a very serious approach and sincere conversation that you have with your heads. And I'll once again take the same example that you went to speak with your recruitment head about the hike, the revising of salary, or the hike in designation. But you need to make sure that the approach is really friendly. Now, you cannot simply go, or rather, you should not go there directly with the HR and say that, well, these are my expectations, and if I do not get what I think I should, well, it's my last day in job. Well, maybe they'll consider your request at the moment, but certainly that would not be an ideal communication, right? Not at your part. So how would you make sure that the communication happens? You are very clear in terms of your communication. You are totally logical, yet you're extremely friendly. That's the challenge. Well, when I say friendly, it's not only about the language, it's about the very tone that you use to speak, full with reverence, filled with respect that you have for your senior. But again, it's friendly in approach, which means these are my views. I would certainly want to know about your perspective about how you look at things, or what sort of future do I have. These are the part of intelligent questions. Of course, that's a separate point altogether. But the entire approach of conversation should be extremely friendly, not only in terms of speaking your concerns or narrating your points, but also in terms of accepting what has been spoken by the other person concerned. The fourth point, considered to be the most important point by many of us, is confidence. How much confident you are about whatever you are speaking, and how much confidently can you present your points. Again, I would say that this is something that comes to you naturally once you are extremely cohesive, logical. You have all the reasons to present. You have the right channel. You have command over your emotions. Then I'm very sure that confidence as such will come to you naturally. But one of the ways of enhancing it is by practicing what you really need to deliver. What happens is that these are many points, and there can be so many other points as well. But once you're out there speaking, there are so many things already in your head that it's very difficult for you to manage each and every aspect of your communication. It happens all together. This is not something that happens one after the other. You cannot manage your grammar once and then take care of your pronunciation, and then maybe fluency, and we'll take care of uh, of the rate of speech later on. We cannot do that. All these things, all these skills work together, and they complement each other. They are never in competition with one another. They are always in complementary positions. So one really important aspect is the confidence that you should have. In my opinion, if you really want to make such a serious conversation with your professional colleagues, you should practice a couple of times. Standing in front of the mirror is one of the most old school, yet one of the most efficient methods of ensuring the same. So that is one thing that you can do. Or maybe you can ask your friend or your colleague or your batchmates, your friends, to have this interaction with you, and then you can try and replicate. Of course, it's not going to be the same once you're communicating with your seniors, but it can be similar, if not the same. And that is the prime intent of it. The idea, again, once again, is to be confident because the other person can perceive it. Confidence, as such, the way I look at it, exists in the form of energy, in the form of vibes. So once you are confident, the other person gets to know. You don't really need to go out there and say that, you know what, I'm extremely confident. You certainly do not do it. But once you express your ideas with all the logics that you have, all the command over emotional intelligence, as I have mentioned, all the knowledge, all the performances that you have for sure broadcasted, then certainly confidence is something which the other person will naturally perceive over the period of time, right? Once they'll have communication with you. So again, confidence is really important aspect of it. Respect. Now, these 2 points, it's the flip-flop side of the same coin. There's a very thin line of difference between being friendly and being disrespectful. So we need to understand and we need to monitor, keep in mind, totally take control of the person's designation who we are speaking with, and be extremely respectful towards the designation, even if not the person himself or herself. So we need to make sure that the delivery of our message should be respectful. One such example I can give to you that you may say that, sir, I'm getting other better offers, right? So I might have to consider it. That's one way of seeing it. Now, the another way of, or the disrespectful way of saying is that, sir, I'm already having a few other offers and I think I should consider them. So it's again the same thing that you have said, right? But there's a lot of difference in both sentences, even when the message was similar and same. So the idea here is to be filled with respect for yourself, working as the professional for which you have worked your entire childhood in schools and colleges and institutions and throughout your academics. Now is the time to showcase the skills that you have learned. And the best way to do it is to have respect for the ones who are working with you. And most importantly, the respect that you have for yourself. You would certainly not want, you would certainly not like. So it's not only about those few moments or minutes of conversations that you have with the person concerned. It's about the aftermath impacts that you have for yourself. You must have noticed this, I'm sure, if not in your personal lives, professional lives, then I'm sure in personal lives. You had a bad word with somebody, and you had a bad day. So someone came and spoke to you really nicely, and you reciprocated, and without putting in any extra effort, your day became really bright. The idea here is to have respect for yourself, and then make sure that the person is enforced to have this sort of amiable and professional conversation with you, which is friendly but which is filled with respect as well. That is one of the most important aspects. Respect is something that we need to really take care of. Now, there is one fine concept, empathetic. So we have to be really empathetic with the person we are speaking with. When I say empathetic, what I mean is that we need to take care of, we need to understand and consider the situations the organization is in, the team is in, the person concerned is in. For example, I really want to speak about my designation. I think from an associate I should be senior associate, or from a senior associate I should be assistant manager, or whatever the hike is. I know that there's a lot of pressure on my team. And I know that my project lead here is responsible for all the tasks. He has been the one who has been discharging all the duties, collecting all the reports, filing in everything, and he is literally laden with the copious amounts of works that he needs to work and deliver every now and then. Now, certainly, this cannot be an ideal time for me to go there and pressurize him to ensure that the hike that I'm deserving is something that he should consider. This certainly cannot be the ideal time for me to say that I might leave the team, because again, when you are part of the team, there's a lot that is dependent on you. So what you're doing is that you are not leaving the idea. You do not now think that, okay, I don't deserve it. Of course you do, and you should be having this communication, but you're just being a bit more empathetic, right? How? By being patient. That's it. By being patient, you can be a lot more empathetic than by speaking things that may not be really necessary. The idea again here is that if the organization is suffering, say for example, from financial troubles, then this may not be the right time for you to speak about the immediate or instant hike. Yes, you may certainly speak about the long-term goals. Then what you're doing by ensuring that you're looking forward to a long-term visionary association with the company is that you are being empathetic, and that is something which every professional should aspire to becoming over the period of time. That is something that you do become over the period of time. What happens is that once you start working in professional environment, once you get in this sort of an atmosphere where people are literally working for 8 or 9 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week, 4 weeks or so in a month, and 12 months a year. And you see that you actually spend a huge amount of your activities time working along with these fine talents alongside. you certainly realize that your life actually is driven by the lives of these people as well. And certainly, over a period of time, you become a lot more empathetic towards them. You do understand that a colleague is really struggling with the amounts of work that the boss has given to him or her. We usually reach out to them in order to help as much as we can. Uh, if things are not above our pay grade, then we certainly would want to enhance our helping hands and to help them. That is one way of being empathetic. And these things do reciprocate in professional life. So that is one skill that we need to understand. But if you still take this example of considering the hike from the recruitment head or the managers, you may reach out to them. And if they are unable to give you the hike, then you may ask them, so when can I exactly expect it? And if I do, how much will that be? Now that's again a cohesive, a logical expression, really friendly, but very empathetic. That can be an ideal way of saying it. The best way to learn all these skills is that you become the listener for yourself. You can put yourself in that situation, and you how exactly or what exactly should you be expecting from the person who is speaking about his or her concerns with you. Once you're able to work on the listening part, again, speaking comes to you naturally, as I initially mentioned. So things that you would want to listen from the person who is coming and speaking to you about his or her concern, shouldn't that be the way in which you should be speaking with your seniors? And that is exactly, once you are sorted with it, being empathetic will certainly not be a challenge for sure. Next, very vital point according to me is the ability to listen. The ability to listen, as I said, it's the first skill. It's LSRW: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. But listening to the concerns of your bosses, or listening to the concerns of your colleagues, or listening to the concerns of your junior associates and deputies is very important if we are actually willing to become or evolve as a professional. So I went to my boss and I spoke to him about the hike that I think I deserve. He was really busy in some instant work, and he was not able to, grant me some time. So how should be my reaction? I should be listening to the points that he has mentioned, and then I should leave. And then he will, or rather, I will ask for some other time to meet. And then everything that has been presented, I should be able to absorb the nature in which the proceedings of the meetings have been happening over the period of time. That is one way of ensuring that you are actually listening. And when I say listen, it's not only about hearing, again, everything and anything that is being said to you, but listening happens in so many other unexplored and unmentioned ways as well. For example, I went to my boss's cabin to speak, and he was already having a tough day. And he spoke to me about the concerns that the company or he himself is having as an individual. So I should have the ability to listen to him, even if at the end of the conversation he might, reject my notion of getting a hike, or he may totally deny the instant revision of my salary or payment or remuneration or additional benefit. But again, if I listen to the person, trust me, the maximum amount of the communication does happen without having had to be saying anything in particular. Even by listening, I have spoken all my concerns, right? We do have always been, hearing this that in terms of body language, we can speak. That is really true. But in terms of listening skills, again, we can deliver a lot that we wish to. So once we are listening to anyone who's speaking with us, this also happens in our personal lives, isn't it? People come and speak with us. If we are actively listening to them without even uttering a word of the solution or suggesting anything that can help them, if we are only and only listening to them and not merely hearing, they'll get to know that we are listening, and that will be helpful itself. So this also happens in professional lives. If you're able to listen to the concerns of your deputies, even if you listen to the problems that they are having in their personal professional lives, there's a lot that you can do, as a difference to them, which might actually bring a difference to them in so many ways. So listening is really important again, because most of the solutions comes out of it. You might deserve a hike, or some of your deputy members who has came to you and speaking to you about his or her revision of salary, and you are in charge here to ensure or monitor his performance over the period of time. If you're listening to the problems that he or she is facing, or the instant immediate need that he or she is having, the communication will certainly happen. As a skill, listening essentially turns out to be the most important aspect of the entire channel of communication. That is why, particularly in professional lives, the ability to listen is the ability to speak what you cannot speak in many occasions. And moreover, if we are not actively listening, it essentially means that we are being disrespectful, which we do not want. So, in order to turn out to be an effective leader, one of the most important and crucial skills that one has to learn is the ability to listen to whatever is being said. And with that, the other point also comes, which is the open-mindedness. So when we listen or when we speak, we should be really open to every feedback that is coming to us, or every concern that is coming to us, or every point that are being raised. So what we can do over here in a situation like this is that if we are presenting our ideas or our concerns that we deserve a hike, we need a revising of salary, the change in designation, the growth in terms of professional innings that we are all into. Even if it is being denied, we should be totally open-minded in order to accept the feedback. Because if we are not able to accept these ideas, maybe we won't ever be able to work on ourselves. Many a times this happens that, the relationship between the organization, the corporate world, and the employees is bilateral. You work for them, they get the benefits, they benefit you in turn, and the cycle goes on. It's difficult for an employee to leave an organization merely without any reason. It's very difficult for an employee to, for a company, I'm sorry, to let any employee leave merely without any reason. So this relation is again bilateral. It can never be unilateral. It never is, was, or it will never be unilateral in so many senses. So because it's a bilateral relations, the fact is that both the entities should be extremely open-minded. The organization should be really open-minded as well, and most of them really are. And we, as an employee, as a workforce, should also be open-minded. Organizations do these days are willing to pay a really hefty amount to their employees, but only when they're really skilled, only when they're really deserving, or only when their performance on the floor is really up to the mark. What happens is that when we are initially recruited in any organization from our academics, that turns out to be our first job or the first employment opportunity that we have, we are recruited on the basis of the qualification that we have. We are recruited on the basis of the skills that we have displayed during our interview or interactions with the recruitment managers. But the further description of our professional lives, the further hikes, the further revising, the further growth, that is entirely dependent on the performance that we are able to showcase once we are working on the desk, once we're actually performing. That is the biggest, the largest determinant of the further growth. So one of the most important aspects is being open-mindedness, because it allows you to take back the feedback in its entirety about yourselves, about your performances, about the skills we should learn. And once you start actively working on them, the feedback does change over the period of time, and so does the review, and so does the monetary gains that you might have, so does the growth that you're experiencing in one organization or the other. So that is again one of the most important aspect of it. One really important point is that the tone and the accent in which we say, like, accent is not really important, but tone is really very important. The tone in which we turn out that we are essentially dealing with our superiors or with our juniors. It is really important for us to mind our tone when we are speaking with our seniors, which most of us do, but it is far more important for us to mind our tone when we are speaking with our juniors. So again, as I said, if we really want to evolve as leaders, we have to work on so many skills besides the hard skills that are required in the operations area. And one of elements is the tone of voice. If we hear something which we think is totally unprofessional and completely unacceptable, we will certainly give our feedback. But the feedback again should be really friendly. Feedback again should be empathetic. Your message can be clear. It should be clear. It should be cohesive, filled with logical reasons that you have. But again, the tone should be really light so that the person is able to understand. And again, there is no loss of respect, not for him as a listener, not for you as a speaker. Once we're able to ensure that, communication does happen quite easily. And the final point is asking really intelligent and good questions. As I said, the relations between organization and the employer, the workforce, is bilateral. It's very important for you to be able to ask good questions with your seniors or with your juniors. So how would you share these ideas? What exactly should be the feedback, or how exactly can you ask these questions? Well, there's a very good chance that you might have to work on it. But if we are going, say for example, again, taking the very example that we have been considering, if we went there to ask for a hike in terms of salary, and they say that, okay, these are the skills that you need to work on, then you may ask the person that how exactly do you think that I should start doing this? I really want to enhance my skills, but how exactly should I begin? That's a good question. That shows that you are actively interested in working on yourself. And once you start working on yourself, certainly it will benefit the organization in so many ways. Well, another intelligent question can be, so what sort of a feature can I expect over here, considering that I master all the skills that you have mentioned? That can be another intelligent question for you. Another important, or rather intelligent question or conversation that we might have is something that is totally beneficial for the company's perspective, something that has nothing to do with you as an individual, but has to do with the organization. If you're able to ask any question which ensures or which shows that you're more interested in organization's growth overall, nothing can be better than that, because that speaks for itself. That shows your real dedication, consistency, performance, willingness, zest, zeal, and every other adjective that we might have there, to ensure the fact that you are willing and ready to put in all the hard work to make sure that the company grows with you. So it's the mutual growth that happens. That is what from the professionals communications perspective, these were the important points that I thought I should rather be sharing with you all today. Once we're able to keep a track of these elements throughout our conversation, or every conversation that we are going to have professionally, no question of being rather facing a challenge in terms of communication will ever arise in front of you. My final recommendation or suggestion to everybody would be that if you have something to speak, if you're willing to share anything with your professional colleagues, just change the shoes, right? You need to stand on the listener's shoe and then think that what exactly can be the best way to for the other person to say the message to you, and then you need to reciprocate that. Practice it a couple of times, standing in front of the mirror, of course, and once it happens, there cannot be any other big challenge. But then these communications do happen in our academic life as well. And I would really looking forward to knowing the feedback from your side. What sort of communication challenges do we usually face? Or how exactly can we work in terms of our communication, especially when we are still students and we are yet to start a career? So I believe Meenakshi is there if she's listening to me.
Kept my mic on mute mode so that I don't disturb you. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are, but I think your voice is really feeble, Meenakshi. I'm not sure if everyone is able to listen to you.
One second. I'll just. I hope it's clear and
Yes,
better
better,
now.
much better,
Yeah.
much better.
Yes. So, should I keep the dice open for the question answers, or would you like to tell them about the courses we are launching first?
Well, let's start with the courses then. So interestingly, to every student, I would want to address that over the period of time, and actually, and I have realized the need for individuals to start working on these aspects of communication. Things that I have highlighted, it's just the overall surface of it. There's a lot once we start digging inside. There's a lot that we can explore. Things that have been unexplored, verticals that were left untouched. And keeping these aspects in mind, we have decided custom courses for our students that would help them enhance the skills in the very field ensuring which they'll be able to evolve themselves as students and as professionals. So to begin with, we have a plan of launching quite a number of courses in these domains, but starting today, we will be launching 5 courses to begin with. The first one is talent management. This is more for the recruitment professionals or team leaders. Again, this is really important for someone who is willing to have a commanding position in any organization. It's really important to manage the talent. So it's really difficult for us to manage so many employees back in our organization. We do understand that because with talent comes a lot of creativity. With talent comes a lot of questions, a lot of ambitions, a lot of visions. And I'm very hopeful that all of you will be in some managerial positions moving ahead in your careers. So it's going to be really important for you to know and learn the tricks of how exactly can you manage these talents who are coming to you and speaking with you. That's one of the most crucial courses that we are launching here. The other course that we are launching is corporate communication. For example, today's session was a part of corporate communication. We tried highlighting about 8 to 9 points that we can keep in mind, especially when we're dealing professionally with our colleagues, seniors, juniors, deputies, associates, manager, recruitment heads, management heads, and there are so many designations and so many roles. So this entire corporate communication course does help you work on the overall sorts of communication on the various verticals of the corporate involvement that you would want to have. Then moving ahead, we are launching the tricks to vocabulary. Now this is a really interesting course custom developed because we have had so many requests from candidates where they were willing to know the tricks that how exactly can we start working on our vocabulary. Because when I used to get, when I still get questions that said how exactly can we work on our vocabulary, the one word answer was to, it's a 4-letter word called read. I should always ask them to read as much as they can. But well, there are a few tricks that we may employ. And in this course in particular, we will be addressing these points that how exactly can we ensure the fact that we are able to learn new words. And with learning, it's really important for us to ensure that how can we effectively the lives of people.
Puran, can you put your mic on mute mode, please? Yeah. One second, 1 second. Yes, Anand, you can unmute your mic and continue, please. Yes, Anand, sir. Sorry for the interruption.
Okay. All right. So yes, I mean, with words and its meanings, one of the most important aspects is the grammatical implications. That how exactly are we supposed to put these words into the practical use, especially when we are speaking. That's one aspect of it. Interview skills, that's another custom program. And I believe this is the most relevant one for most of the students who are willing to start their careers in professional lives. Interview skills, again, it's a 2 weeks custom program. I'll let you know about the duration and the modules involved. But interview skills is again one such custom programs where we address all the points all the concerns and all the essential elements that you as an aspirant, you as a candidate should be knowing before appearing for an interview. And the final course that we are launching today is communication with impact. That how can we make sure that the conversation that we are having, or the listening that we are making, or the speaking that we are doing, or the reading, or the writing is always impactful. It creates an impact on the person that we're dealing with. The person can be one or many, it can be part of public speaking as well, but how do we make sure that our very presence makes these aspects quite impactful? When it comes to vocabulary building, the 2 modules that we're having is enhancing the province, which is verbalism, and the other section over here that we're having, the name of the other aspect that we're having is heuristic appliance. Heuristic means like comprehensive, having the total comprehension of the knowledge of the words and how do we apply it practically. So the 2 modules, which is for 2 weeks, again divided into 4 sessions each. The idea is to make sure that you are able to grasp all the new words and again implement them practically at the hour of need without having to think much about the proper use of it. We would want to make sure that you do understand the grammatical presence of the word. For example, it exists as a noun, as a verb, as an adverb, as an adjective. or is a collocation. And then how do we actually put in terms of your practical use? That's for vocabulary building. For interview skills, again, it's a 2 weeks program, further divided into 4 sessions each. First module is assimilation of conceptualization, and the other one is mastering the essentials. So, as these words suggest, the first module is, and the first 4 sessions are all about making you aware of how exactly corporate world works. What are the things that organizations seek in the professionals of the talents that are stepping inside their campuses? And the other module, the other 4 sessions, it's all about making sure that you're able to master everything that is required. So for the first 4 sessions, you get to know how things work. And in the last 4 sessions, you need to know that, or you will get to know that how exactly will you be able to work on them. So these are the two modules on which the sessions will happen. And then certainly when it comes to communication with impact, we have modules where the first one is eliminating the impediments. Impediments is all the hurdles or all the barriers of communication. How do we eliminate that? The art to influence. If you're speaking with somebody, you're dealing with someone, how do you make sure that the person gets influenced with whatever is being spoken about? Then we have personal and professional communications. We have to make sure that these communication channel does happen differently, but again, impactfully when we are dealing personally or we are speaking with someone professionally. And the module number 4 is how to become an impactful voice. Now, these are the modules that we are referring to. These modules are further divided into sessions, and each sessions are having different sets of topics, different videos, different written materials filled with assignments, several assignments for candidates and assessments for sure. We have all the workshops required, and this entire methodology of the work that we have implemented is totally tailor-made to ensure that at the end of these sessions, you get to learn what is really required, particularly in terms of your professional lives moving ahead. Similarly, in corporate communications, this is a 6 weeks program where we're having interpersonal communications, relationship development, aspects of communication, how to deliver, how do you manage the delivery, all about the group communication, all about the corporate reputation that you develop over a period of time, or how do we manage the communication crisis that usually exists. And this is one of the most biggest concerns that organizations do face time and again, that there is a lack of communication. I mean, there's communication crisis between teams, between individuals, between departments, and among the employees. So how do you manage this as an individual for yourself? Then certainly it's cross-cultural communication, people coming from various backgrounds. For example, I work in an organization that is a UK-based franchise. So certainly the communication that we will be having with the clients is going to be cross-cultural. So the organizations where you will be working, how would you make sure that the cross-cultural communication does happen flawlessly? And how are you able to deliver the messages that you intend to? And again, the reciprocation happens. And again, the last module in this specific course is about soft skills and sustainable development. So sustainable development, continued professional development is the professional word for this. Even when you're recruited or even if you're working as a student, still we need to make sure that the growth and development and learning is a process that never stops and it continues over a period of time. And in talent management, well, that's more of the recruitment and managing the talents, like it's maintaining the pipeline, performance evaluation. How would you want to evaluate the performance of individuals you're working for and with? Taking the feedback, upskilling the human potential. For example, in sessions like these that PFC have always been arranging for you find talents, the prime intent, and I'm sure it's about upskilling the human potential. It's about upskilling the very potential and that you have, so that you can in turn unleash the real professional selves out of yourself. So that is the prime intent, right? Upskilling the talents that we already have, and this process should be continued, incessant, and perpetual. Creating a robust talent management system. This is largely for the human resources team. It's about how do you manage a pipeline and build the entire way of getting the talents to work for yourself. So it's easy to work with your own hands, but how do you get others to manage to work for you? That is one aspect of it. And with this, I would want Meenakshi to take over. These are the sessions. I'm really hopeful that these sessions will help all our students and professionals moving ahead in their academic as well as professional lives.
Thank you so much, Anand. So I have some great news for everybody in the session. First, that we'll be starting off with the quiz in like 10 minutes from now. So you have an opportunity to win the prizes. So, and another great news, which is even better, is that all these courses are, I have just presented on my screen the price of the courses, right? But if you're registering today, the courses are at 50% discount, because this month, each week, we are launching the courses. So every week the course launch, the on the day of the launch, just to promote all the students to be a part and parcel of this, to understand and unleash the caliber they have, we are offering 50% scholarship for the students who register on the same day. So if you're registering today, these courses are available at half price. Please don't come tomorrow and ask me for discount. Please don't do that, because sometimes I tend to forget whether we are running an education institute or in Sabzi Mandi. But yeah, so this is a scholarship. This is a scholarship to motivate the first batch. And I have just put a link in the comment section, if you can see the link right there. So we'll have 10 minutes of question and answer round. Okay, and 10 minutes of question and answer round. You can ask whatever questions you want to ask to an answer, and you need to register yourself at this given link. And those who register will be registered at 50% price of the course, as I said. And this is a certification course. Again, you can easily mention it in your CV, right? uh, if you are registering and you are making the payment, then you can go in for the course payment via GPay, PhonePay, or Paytm, or in case you need the bank details. I've given the GPay, PhonePay, and Paytm number. In case you need the bank details, you can ping me personally or in the chat box. So we'll now keep the dice open for the question and answers. By the time the interested candidates can go ahead and register. So Anushka has a question: what to do if the other person is not language friendly, like a person don't know appropriate words in English also, how to be confident and how to tackle the situation? Yes, Anand, over to you.
Uh, Hello. I'm sorry. I just could not get the question. I believe something happened with my system. Can you please
Sure.
repeat
So
it?
yes, sure. Anushka is trying to ask as to what should one do if somebody is not very friendly with the language, and what is say, for example, if you do not know the appropriate words you need to use, how you should be confident enough in that situation and how to tackle the situation.
Right. Right. Perfect. So this usually happens in our organization as well. Well, frankly, organizations like usually they take care of the job role. It entirely depends on the job role that you are into. For example, we recruit back-end accountants, and they are not responsible towards establishing any sort of communication with our clients. So we make sure that the ones who are dealing with the clients directly, the ones who are working in the first response team, or the ones who are in the sales team, or the ones who are the front-end accountants, they have this knowledge proficiency. Now, in case they do not have that, what we do is that we train them. The only solution to every problem is to train. And if the other person is not language friendly, then what we can do is that we can work on ourselves a bit and just make sure and try and find a mid path so that we can communicate in the very language he understands. And what happens is that, have you ever, Anushka, if I'm not wrong, you must have heard foreigners trying to or making attempts to speak in Hindi. They do not excel in doing so, but they're still very able to understand. This happens everywhere. Even if you are not able to speak, and I'm only taking English over here as a language, still, if you're speaking with someone who deals in the native language, they will be able to understand you with a little struggle, of course, and the communication will happen flawlessly. The point here is that all these extra factors, for example, grammatical accuracy, rate of speech, voice and tone and accent, they come into very active role, especially when you have an absolute command over the language. When the other person knows that you are not quite confident in the language itself, they do realize that there's a very good scope of misconception. For example, I'll just give you one instance, Anushka, in this case. One of my friends, one of my colleagues, I should say, he once faced a situation. I believe I shared this with you guys, I think, the other day. The client said to him that I know exactly where you're coming from. So in their culture, What it means is that I got your point. I understand what you are trying to say. But what he thought was that this was some sort of a racist comment, where he said that, I exactly know where you're coming from. Where you are coming from, is literally saying that I know your place of birth, I know your country of birth, or I know the caste, color, creed, religion, ethnicity, custom. That's our costume. One of the ways in which we can handle such language barriers. If it is required for your job to communicate with someone who's not really friendly with the language in which you communicate, we do have translators. Professionally, we always have translators for such job roles to make sure that there is no miscommunication happening.
Thank you so much, Anand. I totally agree to your point. Plus, Anushka, this is what the sessions are all about. This is what the communication workshops are all about. So it's just a language. English is just a language. We've just created a hype about it as Indians that, oh my God, the person who can speak well in English fluently is somebody who's a rock star and the others are not. So understand this is just a language, right? Although it is a global language, so it is indispensable part of our curriculum. Let me call it curriculum, because if you want to excel you have to have a command over this. But you can always have a command over any language by reading, as Anand sir already said, reading and listening, instead of, I know many of you spend a lot of time on Netflix series and also, instead of watching them in Hindi, just go in for the English versions of it, right? So I think that's one way out. And rest, Anand sir is an expert, so he will take care of it all once you are into the course. Any other question, anybody? By the way, we have already got 2 registrations. We're waiting for more people to, but that was quite quick. Any other questions, anybody? So I think we're done with the questions. The registration link is open for 15 more minutes. So people who are interested to enroll can enroll now. And if you need any further details, if you don't have PhonePe, Paytm, GPay, you can just let me know. I'll just give you the bank details for the registration purpose. Now we'll be starting off with the quiz. But before that, Anand, I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for always being there for PFC and always taking up these sessions, because I think it is going to lead to long term grooming of all these kids, especially the way you conduct your sessions. I think the interactive sessions really play a big role in long run. So thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for sparing out time from your busy
Most
schedule and
welcome. Thank
making
you.
it
Thank
here
you
for
so
the
much.
session. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and so I would want you also, Anand, to participate in this quiz now. I will be presenting, as promised, I will be presenting the quiz to the students like 5 minutes before. We are sharing it on the Telegram group because we want to have some extra benefit for the students who stayed back till the end of the session. So, what is this quiz all about? As I said, as I promised, nothing about the studies this time, guys. Sessions are certification sessions, but post that it is going to be a relaxation quiz. So you know all in and out of Bollywood, so let's see how much you know about Bollywood. So there is a word grid which I'll be presenting on my screen. All you need to do is you need to find out the name of actors and actresses, the Bollywood actors and actresses, right? So let's see who's the hardcore Bollywood fan. So herein we have some name of actors and actresses. I have around 10 names. Okay, so you have to find out the 10 names, highlight them, and send it to me either on my WhatsApp or on Instagram. Please don't send it here. I don't think so. You have option to uh, Ayushi, just the names. I'm sure you must be aware about the names of the popular Bollywood actors and actresses. It's actors and actresses, nothing else other than that. So just highlight those names and send it to me on my WhatsApp or on the Telegram group or anywhere else you can send. I don't think so there's any other mode of sending it, but though anywhere else you can send. The people who are able to, first 3 students who are able to send it, send all the 10 names highlighted, will win a special prize. And you can come over to the PFC News Center, New Premise, to collect your prizes on Monday.
Excuse
Okay,
me, ma'am.
so yes, tell me.
How we have to highlight the names?
So Vedika, you can use a highlighter or picture editor in your mobile phone. I believe you might be having. You can take a screenshot of the picture I'm presenting now, and then you can use the photo editor or the marker highlighter in your phone. Are you accessing the class via mobile phone or via the laptop?
Mobile phone.
Yeah. So just take a screenshot, and the photo will be there in your gallery. You can open the picture and just use the marker. Do you have the marker, photo marker in your mobile phone?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. So you can highlight that. The people who are not able to do that can write down the name of the actor actresses whom they can get hold of in this grid. That will also be fine. Yeah, you can write down the
Okay,
name of
thank
the
you,
actor
ma'am.
actresses. Suppose you see there's Amitabh Bachchan, you can write down Amitabh Bachchan. I need 10 names, okay? And don't give random names because I'll get hold of it, right? Okay, so here we go. All the best, everybody. Uh Here we go with the question. One second, I'll just zoom it in. This is your word grid, and you can take a screenshot of this. All the best. Send this to me as soon as possible. So Anand, we are waiting for your answer as well. You need to look for the name of actor actresses in this word grid. And guys, as I said and as I promised that we are gonna have these fun sessions throughout the month. Next, I think we have posted the schedule of the events in the Telegram group as well as on the app, PFC Education app. So just to give you a little idea, next week we are having treasure hunt, which is a very very interesting competition. We have it every year at PFC. So there are two kinds of treasure hunt we organize, Anand, let me tell you. One is the physical treasure hunt where we go to a location and they have to find things, but because of COVID we are not able to do that. This treasure hunt is an online treasure hunt wherein we will be having some PDF files. Like they're going to be 10 PDF files. Every file is going to be logged. Okay. And the clue, answer of the first riddle is going to be the password for the second file, and so on. Right. And once you reach to the 10th file, there'll be a Google form. You have to fill it up, and we'll see the people who cracked it first, who can get hold of the link first, will be the winners. So that's again a very very interesting competition every time. And the clues are, as I promised, are not going to be related to studies anymore. The clues will be some fun clues, like as if you're a detective and you have to hunt for the criminal. So let's wait and watch for the next week, and the week after that we'll be having a Sudoku challenge. So I am sure many of you love this, and you will be participating in this challenge. It's going to be a different kind of Sudoku challenge. Once you are there in the Telegram group, you'll get to know about it. So guys, to be a part of all these activities throughout the month, you need to join PFC ACCA Telegram group. So you'll get hold of all these activities, the pre-announcements there. And as promised, we have already given you time. Now I'm posting this riddle in the Telegram group. So all the best, everybody. And once you're done, please certificate of participation, everybody. Monday our team will be checking as to who all attended the session. So only the students who have filled in the Google form, let me tell you that also, the people who have filled in the Google form and the people who have attended the entire 1 hour workshop will only be given the certificate of workshop. The smart lots who entered into the workshop and exited like after 15 minutes or 20 minutes will not be entitled to any certificate, right? So I hope that's clear. And yes, your certificates, you'll get it before the next weekend, before the next certification workshop. In case you don't, you can get back to me on my personal number. Thank you, everybody. It was an amazing session. Thanks for being a wonderful, wonderful audience. And see you next week. Same link, most probably. Right? So see you all next week. Thank you so much, Anand. Have a great
Thank
weekend.
you.
Have a great weekend,
You too.
everybody. Bye.